Alright, we are on to the next panel for Gerald. Welcome back to the second video. We are going to start off with a slip knot. Wrap that yarn around your fingers and pull up a loop just like that. And then we are going to pull that tight. There we have our slip knot. Alright, we're going to move that yarn out of the back just so you can see a little bit better of what we're doing. So we're just going to start with chain again, chain 7. And you might ask why we need to chain 7 instead of chaining 6 if this is only a 6 by 5 square. By the way, these are the side panels that we're doing in this video, so this is a 6 by 5 and not a 6 by 6. Just slightly shorter because Gerald is not a perfect square. 1, 2, 3, 5. He is a kind of rectangular cube. 7. Okay, so why are we doing 7 chains instead of 6 chains? Well, since we need to skip the first chain next to our hook, we have to do 7 chains so we have a 6 single crochet row. Essentially, skipping this first chain is like chaining 1 on every other row that we're doing. So it's just going to make sure our edges are straight, and it's also a lot easier to work into the second chain than it is the first. And yeah, so now we're on our single crochets. Feel free to go back to the previous video if you still need help on single crochet, or I can go slowly on some of these rows just to help you out, but you know, we're already kind of going fast on this row, so we're gonna finish off this row and then I will show you slowly on the next row. Ooh, couldn't get that through. Also, make sure your stitches aren't too tight, which sounds a lot easier than it actually is. So we're working with tension, so actually let me show you that real quick. We're working with tension. You're going to wrap your yarn around your finger like this, and then wrap it up over this finger, and then you have your yarn. It's tight between your fingers, so you are getting tight stitches. And it's really hard to do this at the beginning. So most people actually recommend getting a yarn ring or some other tool to help you. But learning that skill, learning to have the tension between your fingers is really useful. And just allowing that yarn to slip between your fingers as you work is very useful. I actually find yarn rings really hard. I cannot use them. I've never been able to use them. I actually got one when I started crocheting, and I was a knitter first, and so yarn rings were really hard for me because you just don't have anything like that in knitting. So I just kind of learned to use the tension in my fingers because I was already used to it on my other hand from knitting. So you actually hold the yarn in your dominant hand for knitting, but you hold it in your opposite hand for crochet, which is a little complicated. But yeah, I just never got used to yarn rings. So we are on our 3rd row now, by the way. Just working along. Remember, we have 5 rows here, not 6. Alright, that's our chain 1. My yarn is getting all tangly, mangledy up there. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Row 4. I will say knitting is much different than crochet. But it seems like you can do a lot more with crochet than knitting if you learn, of course. So I'm not a big plush maker in crochet. I prefer to make granny squares, which I turn into cardigans, blankets, t-shirts, well, not t-shirts, but shirts, other things, and, you know, just do those products. Okay, I will pick that back up, that thought, after we finish off this row. So we have to chain 1, and then, hey, we found scissors. Awesome, great. Cut that yarn and pull that all the way through. Turns out I had scissors all along. So that is our 6x5 square. Here it is compared to our 6x6 square. As you can see, it's just literally just one row longer. And we are going to make 4 of these. So we're going to do that together. So this will be a slightly long video. Don't be scared by the time. It's just because we're making all of these together just so you can get used to how crocheting works. If you don't want to stay for the whole video, you know, feel free to make it on your own if you feel confident, but if you need the help, then feel free to stick around and hear my ramblings as I crochet. 1, 2, 3, nope, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Counting is hard, you know? Crochet math, very different from normal math. Actually, I would say I'm much better at crochet math than normal math. Okay. Crochet math is just counting to really high numbers and also like doing some multiplication, especially when you're trying to like figure out sizing for shirts or like other wearables. So like I made a cardigan and I had to figure out how many granny squares I needed to crochet to make my size. And it ended up coming out to like 204, 210. I don't know. It was a lot of granny squares. And I do still have to sew up that cardigan. Actually, I hate sewing. Sewing to me is the worst part of crochet. Not a sewer, for sure. Just a crocheter, just a knitter. Not into sewing very much. I wish I was, though. Making my own clothes would be really cool. But you know, you're only good at so many things sometimes. If you can hear the train in the background, that is because I am in my apartment. And the train is very loud here. Okay, that's our 3rd row. Make sure your slip knot, the beginning stays tight because sometimes it comes a little unraveled and, you know, it happens. We're on our 4th row now. Okay. Man, I could talk about crochet stuff all day, but it really does feel like I'm rambling. I hope you enjoy my rambles. This is done very quickly at the end of this project because this is due on Wednesday and it is currently Monday. And I am filming this at 8 in the morning, so you can enjoy my slightly sleep-deprived rambles because I did not go to bed until 1 a.m. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is our 5th row. So we are going to tie it off, cut our yarn, and pull through. And awesome. That is our 2nd panel out of 4. So pair our 2 panels together, stack those up. I wish I could show you my setup because it is just like a lot. I currently, what you're seeing is a piece of cardboard and a piece of foam board that I'm working over, so it is much easier to see the stitches that I'm doing, and it looks just a little bit cleaner. But this is balanced on my bed under a shelf, and my phone is currently sitting on that shelf. 5, 6, 7. Sorry, counting is hard. So it's a pretty janky setup that we got going on here, but does it work? I mean, I sure hope it does. I sure hope that you guys can see what I'm doing. I can kind of see the phone screen just to make sure my hands are in frame, but yeah, it is a setup for sure. That's our first row. These panels go pretty quickly, honestly. Since we're working pretty small, they go pretty quickly, but you know, like I said, if you need to restart or just having trouble with the stitches, that's okay too. Not everything has to go fast. Learning is a slow process. It took me a long time to get good at crochet, like a long time. I was learning during COVID, so I have been crocheting for 3 years now. Yep, 3 years in April, actually. It was 3 years in April, which is crazy. So I've been doing this for a while, and I still have a lot of things that I haven't learned with crochet that are just like kind of things that I kind of don't care about. So I probably won't learn unless I ever need to use it in a project, but you know, don't be in a rush to learn every single stitch in crochet, just like maybe the basic ones. Now you may ask, what are the basic stitches in crochet? Well, that would be the chain, the single crochet, the double crochet, and the triple crochet, which all sound very complicated, but honestly, it's just how many times you wrap the yarn around your hook before inserting it into the stitch. So it's not too difficult. It's just a little tough to keep the yarn wrapped around your hook before inserting into stitch when you're learning. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we are on our 5th row. But yeah, I mean, feel free to look up other videos that teach you, because they will probably teach you a little bit better than I can. And like I said, we're just learning the basic single crochet and chain and slip stitch in this whole project. So it's a very easy project, very beginner friendly. Yeah, easy as cake, they would say on Ravelry. That is our 5th row. Let's carry on. Oh yeah, and if you ever want to go in Ravelry, they have a plethora of patterns, and they are all free, which is honestly amazing. Well, not all of them, but most of them are free. And I have found so many good tops and like plushes on there. It's honestly amazing. The people who upload patterns to Ravelry for free are saints, actually. So just feel free to go check that out. There's plenty of places that you can find free crochet patterns. And that would also mean you have to learn the skill of reading crochet patterns, which is like learning another language. And I mean, that comes with its own fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Learning a new, actually switching from knitting to crochet. So I had learned to read knitting patterns before I started crocheting, obviously, because I had been knitting for a little bit longer. I think I had been knitting for like 6 months at that point, because I just found knitting a lot easier than crochet at the time. And then I now find crocheting much easier than knitting, which is a thing for sure. Sometimes it's hard to get your hook through stitches. Anyway. Yeah. I totally lost my train of thought. That happens. I might actually record a voiceover for this instead of me just talking, because there's a lot of pauses for whatever I'm talking about usually. My train of thought is a wild beast. It goes wherever it pleases and usually does not stay in one place for very long, so my thoughts being cohesive when I'm talking is a very low chance, actually. Yeah, we're just working through the 3rd row now. Kind of calmly. This crochet is very calm. Knitting, depending on what you're doing, is also very calm, but I don't know. Knitting always has a lot more stressors for me than crochet does. I think because with crochet, you're really only worrying about one loop on your hook at a time. I mean, or 2, depending on what you're doing. But, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. It's a lot easier. You have less to worry about. If you mess up, it's very, very easy to go back. The yarn just pulls right out those stitches, and it is no big deal. So now that is the end of our 5th row. We are going to cut that, tie it off, and that is our 4 panels, I do believe. Yes, here is our 4 panels all together. Yay, 4 Gerald panels. And since we have our 4 panels, we are going to go into the next video where we make our arms and legs. So I will see you over there, where you can listen to more of my ramblings and more of my crochet stories. Alright, see you in the next one.